The Pistons are on a 3-game winning streak, but should you be happy about that? Or should you be mad about that, possibly hurting the Pistons lottery odds? Also, is Saddiq Bey already the best three-point shooter in Pistons history? And where are we at with the belief-o-meter in Killian Hayes? We'll talk about all that in today's episode of the Lockdown Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks.com and use promo code NBA or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you have not already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. If you're one of the 50% of people who watch the podcast on YouTube but haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that for me. It's the best way to support the podcast. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers, continuing to show Lockdown that we're the best and fastest growing fan base at the Lockdown Network. So again, I'd really appreciate it if you haven't already. Head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. But let's go ahead and get right into it. We're welcoming a guest, friend of the show, my former co-host I used to do podcasts with over at #Pistons, Joe. I just realized Joe. So as I bring Joe on over from YouTube, I have to slide him in. I see his name. You have to put a name when you get into the studio, and he has his name Fat Joe. So that got just a lot of quick.
I'm just being honest, brother.
Let's not waste any time, Joe. We got a lot to talk about in today's podcast. So Pistons are obviously on a 3-game winning streak. At any other point of the season, I feel like there would be a lot of happiness over that. It'd be a lot to be happy about over that. And even though throughout an 82-game season, obviously all the games count the same, whether you win the 3-game winning streak at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, it's all going to total up to 82 games. It doesn't matter. But I don't think I think it's quite obvious that the fact that's happening right now is going to be met with a different response than it has been met with. It would have been met with if it happened in December, January, February. But I want to pose the question to you because obviously it's a heated topic. Are you happy with the wins? We kind of talked about in the last podcast. I'm going to dive into my opinion a little bit more here as well. But are you happy about the wins that are taking place, the 3-game winning streak? Are you pissed? Are you like, man, this really just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things? Big thing is the lottery in the upcoming summer. Are you not too big of a fan or too big of a person with the whole lottery odds? They don't really matter. Just where's your head at with the Pistons, just with 3 games remaining on a 3-game winning streak, now finding themselves in the 3rd spot in the lottery with 3 games behind of number 1, which is Houston and Orlando?
I mean, I said on the last time I was on here that if you're really that concerned about it, you're pretty much just a loser. And overall, that would still pretty much be my thought on the situation because of the fact that it's not like they're playing a bunch of veterans. I mean, they straight up shut down Jeremy Grant with a very suspicious injury for the season. Corey Joseph is playing less and less. Saban Lee's been playing more. Killian Hayes has been playing more. They're doing it with the young guys. And I do understand to a certain degree, part of the frustration here is that I think when they beat the Sixers, people were happy about that, right? Because it's fun to beat the Sixers. Joel Embiid is a dickhead. It's fun to beat the Sixers. But, then their last 2 wins are over the Pacers and the Thunder, and both those teams are bad. The Thunder are blatantly not trying anymore. So there is a degree to which I understand why it's a little bit frustrating about that. But at the end of the day, they're playing all the young guys. And if you're going to, what more do you want them to do? You can't be telling the players to straight up not win, right? So they're playing the young guys. They end up winning. And, they're still the third best odds. And so I'm not going to get too torn up about it. And that was one of my points earlier is that the reality is the record, they've been so bad all season that there's almost no way they get lower than 4th or 5th. I mean, they're pretty much guaranteed a top 5 pick no matter what. And from my understanding, as someone who I don't follow draft stuff super closely until the season's over, and then I start to pay closer attention to draft stuff. But my understanding is that the top 4-ish, 5-ish guys in this draft, that's kind of where the first cutoff point is. So as long as they end up top 5, I think it's going to be fine. And, this might be something we talk about a little bit later. But the other benefit the Pistons have is that because they have Cade Cunningham as their cornerstone piece, they don't need to worry as much about which of those top few prospects they get, because any one of them is a theoretical fit with Cade Cunningham. It's not like any one of those guys you look at, it's like, don't want to add him to Cade Cunningham. It's like he should fit with any one of them. So if you end up fourth, then whichever one you end up with, you're thrilled with, and you hope that they end up developing him. So, yeah, if they're playing veterans, like if Jeremy Grant was shooting 20 times a game in these games and Corey Joseph was playing 35 minutes a game, I get it. But that's not what's happening. So, they beat the Thunder in part because Killian Hayes had a killer game, which we'll talk about later. And it's like, look, would it be nice if the Pistons had just lost and got the top odds again? Yeah, it would. But if they win because Killian Hayes, who needs to have some good games, has some good games, I'm okay with that. If they beat the Magic because Saddiq Bey scores 50 points, I'm okay with that. So, yeah, I'm not going to stress about it.
So I kind of talked about this on the last podcast, and this really is like a split view amongst the fan base, at least from what I've seen, from my listeners and from the comments and from what I've been tweeted at and what I follow on my Twitter feed from all you guys. This really seems like it's like a splitted viewpoint amongst everybody. So this is where I'm at with it. So again, like Joe said, like it'd be different if they were playing Jeremy Grant 40 minutes, Corey Joseph 30 minutes. Like this past game, the Pistons just won. Again, I told you guys the minutes on the last podcast, but we'll do it again. Like the guys leading them in minutes, not Jeremy Grant, not Corey Joseph, not Saddiq Bey, not even Killian Hayes, who I believe should have been getting a lot more minutes. I don't think he's on the level of those other guys, but even Killian, not leading them in minutes. Isaiah Stewart, not leading them in minutes. The dudes that played the most minutes in this game against the Pacers and won, Isaiah Livers, Frank Jackson, Braxton Key with 28, Rodney McGruder with 26, and a dude they literally signed just 6 hours before this game, and Carson Edwards, who had 31 minutes played. Like, if the Pistons are going to win with stuff like that, I don't know what else you expect them to do. Like I jokingly said on the last podcast, did you want Dwayne Casey to sub in Rex Kalamian and Jerome Baker out there? Is that like what you wanted them to do? Like, I'm not sure what else they could possibly do to secretly tank a game. Like they wasn't like they were out there trying to win that game. So I get why everyone's mad about it, but at the same time, there's nothing else they can really do. Like they did the best they could. They're not out here trying their hardest to win games, but if they're going to win games despite that, there's nothing you can really do about it. And trust me, I completely get those of you who are saying, some meaningless games in the beginning of April are not going to impact this big time rebuild the lottery in the offseason does. And I'm not like the other people who will be on here saying to you, oh, that's just a bunch of foolishness. You're wrong. Because it is right. You're right. These games likely will not matter in the grand scheme of things like the lottery will in this offseason. However, while I understand that kind of frustration, that kind of viewpoint, again, outside of just simply forfeiting and not showing up, I don't know what else the Pistons could really do. Like I had some of you guys say, oh, they sort of sat Saddiq. I don't know if the Pistons would have had like a full rotation if they just started sitting all the other guys, because the other dude's already out with injuries. Like if you sat Saddiq, I believe they only had 7 or 8 players ready to play. So again, playing them only 20 minutes is not. I mean, if Saddiq's going to drop 31 points in 20 minutes of action, I mean, I find it hard for me as not just like someone who covers the team, but also as a fan of the team and a fan of basketball to get mad watching a dude on your team drop 6 threes in the first quarter and drop 31 points in 20 minutes. Like, it is what it is, man. If that kind of thing's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if the Pistons are meant to get a top pick, they'll get a top pick in the offseason. At the end of the day, it's all about odds. You don't know what's going to happen. Right now, the Pistons currently still have the same percentage chance in the top 4 as Houston, Orlando. They have the same chance at the number 1 overall pick as Houston, Orlando. So I'm not sweating it right now, and I don't think anyone else really should either. But we'll go ahead and leave it off there. When we come back, there's been there's been an article that was dropped by somebody, and it was claiming that Saddiq Bey is the greatest 3-point shooter already. 2 years into his NBA career, is the best 3-point shooter in Detroit Pistons history. Do we agree with that? Is that the right statement to make, or is there someone else that still holds that crown? We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I had to tell you guys about some of our sponsors. First up, let me tell you a little bit about PrizePicks. All right, NBA fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try their award-winning app, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and we know you will too. It's so easy to use. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on the projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really that easy. PrizePicks is safe and it offers fast withdrawals as well. So go use their award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. PrizePicks allows mixed sports entries. So, for example, when the football season was still going on, you'd see me go on there. I take the under on Jared Goff's passing yards, at the same time taking the over on Cade Cunningham's points. You can do that with football and basketball, but also college basketball, college football, MLB, soccer, MMA, and more. They have all kinds of things you can do over at PrizePicks. And for a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a singular point, but you must use code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA for $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Then let me tell you about another one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championship, odds, podcasts, and reviews for all the different leagues this season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. So head to their website today and use your mobile device and learn more about the trends in action today. And if you head over to BetOnline.net right now, I'm looking at it right here. We got the Houston Rockets and Brooklyn Nets game tomorrow. They got the over-under at 242 points. And figuring the fact that the Brooklyn Nets can't play any defense, and I figured they're just going to run the score up, I'm 100% taking the over here at minus 110. So that's something that I'd suggest for you guys to do. But you can, like I said, it's not just NBA. You got basketball, baseball, boxing, football, golf, hockey, horse racing, martial arts, all kinds of things, soccer, tennis, all kinds of things you can do over there at BetOnline.net. So again, make sure you guys go head to the website today or use your mobile device and learn more about the trends in action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you have not already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. If you're one of the 50% of people who watch us on YouTube or are not already subscribed, go ahead and do that for me. You come in to watch the content every single day. Best way to support the podcast would be to simply hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. You guys get all that good stuff. Best fan base of Locked On Network, on the road to 3,000 subscribers, all that. But Joe, Saddiq Bey, the best three-point shooter in Pistons history. I don't know if you're feeling that, but I don't know. I don't know how you're feeling about that. So I believe we just lost Joe for a second here.
I'm here. I think my camera cut out is all. I don't know why.
Okay, that's fine. So those
it's come a couple times before on here, but it usually come back like right away. I don't know what the deal is with it, but
so those of you on YouTube will just have to sit here and look at his name, Fat Joe, on the screen real quick. Until he
no, I know that you're all very sad. You can't see this beautiful face right now. It's you probably all wish that you couldn't see Koo's ugly mug, but you're stuck with him. He'll have to carry the load. But I'm not going to stress about it. It should come back eventually. Whatever. I mean, the whole deal with Saddiq Bey. Oh wait, you want to say something else?
Yeah, let me give it a little description real quick of it before we go into it. So, someone from the Athletic, his name is James Edwards. I'm sure you guys know of him. He decided to go ahead and put a piece out that claims that Saddiq Bey is the best three-point shooter. And Joe's back on camera. All you guys on YouTube are gifted. But James put out a piece that said that Saddiq Bey is the best three-point shooter already. Not even best, greatest three-point shooter already in the history of the Detroit Pistons. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys my opinion on it. I'm going to throw it to Joe and let him take it from here. But Joe, 2 years into the NBA, 2 years into his Pistons career, is Saddiq Bey already the best three-point shooter ever in Pistons history? No,
and look, the basic point is that, he's the volume that he's shooting it at is really high. He did set the record for, the Pistons record for total 3-point makes in a season this year. And last season he was like 6th or 5th, I think, in Pistons history, and on decent efficiency. So that's the reason why they're saying that. And look, to be fair, part of this is it's the end of a really miserable season. The Pistons suck. Nobody cares. And this is like one of the few that, you can only write so many Cade Cunningham deserves to be rookie of the year pieces. So at some point you have to write something about someone else. And Saddiq scored 50 not that long ago, so he's kind of a hot name. But no, it's an absurd thing to suggest. I mean, and the best way to think about it is that, so this season, Saddiq Bey is literally, his 3-point percentage is literally at league average. League average in the league this season is 35.3%. Saddiq Bey is shooting 35.2% from three this year. And, no matter what volume you are on, and look, the volume does make it more impressive. I'm not suggesting Saddiq is just a league average shooter, but it's not even close. Like when you think about, just the volume thing gets skewed today because teams shoot so many more threes. And when you consider like Chauncey Billups' best season, which was the 04-05 year, the year after they won the championship, he was, I believe, 5th in total makes and 8th in percentage. Or it was the other way around. It was one of those two. Saddiq Bey right now is tied for 14th in the league in makes, and he is 100th in percentage. Like, it's a non-contest, especially when you consider that, like, Chauncey Billups was a point guard. He was taking a lot of his shots off the dribble, far more difficult shots, lots of late in the shot clock shots, and there's a reason that he got called Mr. Big Shot. When stuff broke down.
By the way, they're trying to give Saddiq Bey Mr. Big Shot as well. They're trying to give him best 3-point shooter ever and Chauncey's name already.
Yeah, no, let's not do that. Let's maybe have Saddiq Bey hit a shot in a game that matters before we call him Mr. Big Shot. And look, people are going to take this as crapping on Saddiq Bey. We're not trying to do that. He's been impressive this season. It's been really great to see the way that he's closed out the year. But, I mean, just because he's hitting more threes than anyone else in Pistons history, this is well known by anybody who pays attention to anything. In case you haven't been living under a rock over the last 10 years, teams shoot so many more threes now than they did even a decade ago that it's genuinely comical. So there's simply no comparison. Chauncey Billups, far better shooter. I would put Allen Houston over him too. There's guys who have had better shooting seasons than this year for Saddiq Bey, even in fairly recent memory. I mean, Reggie Bullock had a season where his 3-point shooting he was like 3rd or 4th in the league in percentage. So yeah, it's not there. Now, look, if Saddiq plays like a decade for the Pistons and he shoots like this the entire time, then okay, let's talk about it then. But for now, no, it's no contest. He's not, just because he hits a lot in an era where teams shoot tons of threes and he plays on a bad team, so he gets to shoot all he wants. There is no comparison between him and Chauncey Billups. And I also would like to, one last thing is, I believe the article actually titled it not best 3-point shooter, just best shooter. And I just like to remind people that now Joe Dumars actually is in the top 10 for Pistons threes made, but like they didn't shoot a lot of threes in the late 80s. Like when Isaiah Thomas played in college and started playing, there was literally not a 3-point line. Let me tell you something. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, those guys were really good shooters. And if they played today, they would be awesome 3-point shooters. And I just think that that's worth mentioning because I'm pretty sure the article was titled actually just best shooter ever. And once again, part of the reason that they're titling that is specifically to make people like us talk about it because it drives clicks. It's the business, right? That's how it is. But yeah, it's a pretty absurd argument to make right now. He's a guy who's shooting league average in percentage. I don't care what volume you're shooting on. You don't get to be claimed to be the best shooter in the history of a franchise with any sort of history. Like we're not the freaking Grizzlies or Thunder or something like that have never won anything in their history. This is the Pistons.
So let me go ahead and crack my fingers real quick. I'm about to absolutely obliterate with this whole argument. I'm about to absolutely destroy it. So first of all, I want to get this out the way. Like Joe said, this is not us going after Saddiq. I just spent the last podcast praising Saddiq about how he's absolutely proved me wrong. So this absolutely is not going after Saddiq. But when you make claims like this, it is what it is. Something has to happen here. Chauncey Billups. Let me throw some numbers out at you guys real quick. And Chauncey Billups, in his career with the Detroit Pistons, we'll go from 02-03 to 07-08 before he was traded to the Denver Nuggets. I know he ended up playing his last season with the Pistons, like 20 games or something, but we're only going to do like his prime here in Detroit. Chauncey Billups shot 39%, 39%, 42%, 43%, 35%, 40%. That was his shooting. All of those years are better shooting percentages than Saddiq has had from three. Now, but that's not even where I want to put it at, because obviously the volume at which, like, nowadays you're going to get up is what's going to, like Joe said, you're going to get a lot more makes because simply the league shoots more threes now. There's more of an emphasis on threes now. So he's going to have more makes. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to compare Chauncey's three-point shooting percentages compared to the league that he was in at that time, the era that he was in at that time. So 02-03, Chauncey shot 39%. The league average was 34%. The next year, he shot 38%. League average was 34%. Next year, he shot damn near 43%. League average was 35%. Next year, 43%. League average was 35%. Next year, 06-07, 35%. League average was 35%. 07-08, 40%. League average was 36%. So multiple years, over and over and over, his entire prime in Detroit.
Cool. Also compare the 3-point rate, like the percentage of his shots taken from three. That's really the thing with the volume of threes taken. Look at that. Read those off. It's right there on the adjusted shooting, the 3-point rate.
The plus 240. You go ahead and read that one. Go ahead.
All right. So 3-point rate. So that's a percentage of your shots that you're taking from beyond three. Okay. So in these seasons, so Chauncey Billups, first season in Detroit, took 43% of his shots from beyond the arc. The league average was 18%. Next year, 33% for Chauncey. That year, 18%. Next year for Chauncey, 42% for him, 19% for the league. Next year, 42% for Chauncey, 20% for the league. He was taking more than double the number of threes of the average NBA player. Saddiq Bey is, oh man, I just had it up here. Saddiq Bey this year is at, he takes 53.8% of his shots from beyond the arc. League average is 40%. All right. So when you consider that, that's really the best way to say just how different the game is today. Right. Compared to the rest of the league, like the equivalent today for how many threes Chauncey was taking, he would have to have a 3-point rate of 80%. 80. Right. He literally was doubling the league average of threes. Like, people need to think about that, just how absurd that is. Chauncey was genuinely a player before his time. If he played today, he would have won an MVP. Remember, in that 04-05 season, he finished like, what, third or fourth? That was one of the Steve Nash years. There was quite a bit of the season that it was a genuine conversation about whether or not Chauncey Billups was going to win MVP. If it was today, he would have won MVP because people would have been smart enough to realize, oh, that's right, three-pointers are more efficient. Taking free three-pointers and free throws is really good. They wouldn't have been, it's just, Chauncey Billups is the reason why Pistons fans should be all in favor of people using advanced stats, because he was the secret sauce of that time for that team, is because people didn't think he was that good because they looked at his field goal percentage, and Neanderthals of the time didn't realize that, oh, yeah, he may have a shooting percentage of 38%, but he takes so many threes and so many free throws, they still really efficient score. So, sorry, I just wanted to interject that as a real way to really show the volume difference in that even though Saddiq is taking more threes now than Chauncey did, for the era he played in, Chauncey Billups took an absurd number of three-pointers.
So, and this will be the final point I make. This is really one I really want to hit home right here. This is my home run swing right here. And then we'll move on because we are running a little bit long. So, luckily, Synergy has Chauncey Billups' 04-05 season on Synergy here.
Ooh.
So, luckily for us, that is the case. And let me read you these numbers compared to Saddiq Bey this year. Saddiq Bey right now this season is in the 56th percentile in spot ups. Chauncey Billups at 2004-2005 season was in the 98th percentile in spot ups. Next one, all jump shots. This season for Saddiq Bey, he's in the 62nd percentile. Chauncey Billups that year was in the 95th percentile in all jump shots. In catch and shoots, Chauncey Billups was in the 95th percentile in the league. Saddiq Bey is in the 72nd percentile. And also, like you mentioned, it's not just three-point shooter, just simply shooter. All jump shots off the dribble for Saddiq. He's in the 37th percentile. Chauncey Billups on all jump shots off the dribble was in the 94th percentile. It's not close. It's not close. Chauncey Billups, I would say that he's the best shooter in Pistons history. Maybe someone else. I know people were saying Allen Houston if he played in this era. But Chauncey Billups is washed. Listen, we'll end it here because we are running really long. But We love Saddiq. Saddiq has proved me wrong all year. We love him. He's going to be a key piece moving forward. I'm really happy about all that. Like, this is good. Sadiq is really good. But stop it. Stop. We're not going to disrespect Chauncey like this. We're not going to do that, bro. I won't stand for it. It's not happening on here. At least
Let
not
me know when
podcast.
Saddiq Bey wins a Finals MVP.
Like, it's not happening, bro. We're not disrespecting Chauncey freaking Billups on this podcast. Maybe you'll find that on a different Pistons podcast, but not this one.
Not this one.
When we come back,
maybe some podcast that names itself after some freaking clothes and hairstyles, man. Maybe something like that. Not this one.
I didn't say it. Joe did. So
I said
don't bring that up with me. Don't
come
at me over it. Anyways, when we come back, Joe's belief-o-meter, we've talked about a few times we've come on the podcast. Killian Hayes, where's Joe at with the belief-o-meter? We'll ask him when we come back. But first, let me tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning, like is your Odyssey an LX, and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home or in your pocket by using your phone. You can save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 from a chain store, but only $216 from Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business full of serving do-it-yourself for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every single customer, and they have everything that you could need, from brake parts to tail lamps to motor oil and even new carpets. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find a solution for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in their "How did you hear about us" box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, you guys know all that good stuff. Head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, yada, yada, yada. Y'all get it. We are running a little bit long with the podcast. We're going to try to hurry this up. I'm sorry, that second segment deserved all that, because I honestly was very frustrated that we were actually disrespecting Piston legend.
On results in a long podcast.
But I'm not gonna lie, even when I was solo. Chauncey disrespecting Piston legend number one, Chauncey Billups, like we are
you can't be doing that
in the year of our Lord and Savior 2022. It's just like something. It's just something we're not gonna do out here. We're not doing that here. It's just not gonna happen. So I'm sorry. But anyways, what we're here to talk about, Joe, your belief-o-meter, man. We've talked about it many times. You do it over on your Substack and your little pregame and postgame recaps for the Pistons. Killian Hayes, everyone knows I'm a big Killian Hayes guy, but everyone probably also is aware that Joe isn't as big as a Killian Hayes guy, and I'm definitely a little bit a lot more on the scale. Like the scale is probably like way down here for I'm it's definitely not balanced over here. However, Joe, he's been looking pretty good over the past month or so, man. Where's it at?
Oh, yeah.
What's the belief-o-meter looking like?
The Killian Hayes belief-o-meter. I would say that it is somewhere between rock hard and climax. Somewhere between there. We're not all the way to the end, but we're moving through some foreplay. Good things are happening. We're to second base, I'd say. And we're rounding it, heading for third, unquestionably. I mean, okay, so look, over the last 7 games, Killian, it's all right, man. We're adults here.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Over the last 7 games, Killian Hayes playing 30 minutes a game. 12.5 points, 4.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds. He's shooting 48% from the field, 32% from 3. That's good for a true shooting percentage of 54%. The defense is still monstrous. But as much as it's first off,
Joe's using my words now out here.
Monster, demon. So first off, is that now this is somewhat of a status of just how miserable Killian Hayes has been for most of his first 2 years, but that may genuinely be comfortably the best 7-game stretch of his career, right? I haven't looked through every single 7 consecutive 7 games, but that's got to be close to as good as he has been in 7 consecutive games. But also, anybody who's watched the games can see it. The confidence level is rising. He's doing stuff that he simply was not even attempting to do earlier on. Some of the step back threes, in particular, the strong takes going to the hoop. It's just, that's something and that was one of the main reasons why I was concerned about him out of the draft and why the belief-o-meter had been very low before, is because it's like, I feel like you can't be an effective lead ball handler in today's NBA if you can't get consistent penetration of the paint. And he just showed absolutely no ability to get by his defender and finish at the hoop over a shot blocker. And, not that that's going to ever be the primary part of his game, but you need some ability to do that to be an effective lead ball handler in today's league. And over this stretch, he's shown an ability to do that. Once again, not that that's ever going to be his bread and butter. He's not going to be some expert slasher necessarily, but he's shown enough that may become a real threat for him. And, we've talked about before, his defense is just absolutely spectacular. Genuinely could become an all NBA defender with a little bit of time and a little bit of refining. His footwork is just incredible. His lateral movement is incredible. His size is great. His anticipation is great. And so you combine that with the fact that he suddenly looks competent offensively, and it's going to make a really big difference for him. And if he can make this something real, it really changes the trajectory of the team too. Because when you think about it, with the team as it is, so Cade is obviously that dude. Saddiq Bey is obviously going to be at least a solid player, right? Like, at worst, Saddiq is probably like the 5th guy on a contender, right? Like, he could be the 5th starter. He could do the, whatever, take your pick. He could do the Tayshaun Prince thing, little different, but basic idea. And then Isaiah Stewart, I think we're all kind of, he can maybe get some things. He started to shoot some threes again here, but we're kind of in agreement that he can play, but he's not going to be anything that special. He just is lacking in some areas. And then there's a bunch of other young guys that some of them might be on the team, but whatever. Killian Hayes was really the one big swing guy left of the young guys on the team right now, where if he's a 0, they need to fill a hole yet. But if he can become even like a viable rotation guy, if he can be a starter, that really changes the trajectory of the team, because he really seems like he would be a good fit with Cade in this version of him. Just a defensive menace, bringing some quickness, some speed to the team, a positive passer. I remember we talked about this right at the start of the season when Killian and Cade were on the floor together, and just the power of having 2 guys on the floor that are both huge and really good passers. It's a powerful thing to have in an NBA team. So, yeah, it's hard not to be impressed by him recently, and in particular, beyond the stats, is just the fact that the confidence has clearly grown for him. And if this ends up being a real thing, it will be a real feather in the cap of the Pistons coaching staff, because he spent, his first year and a half-ish of time in Detroit looking like absolutely nothing. You cannot understate how bad he looked at times on the floor. Like, he looked like he didn't want to be there. Not just that he didn't belong. He looked like he didn't even want to be out there. He looked like he was just floating through the games, like, I'm just trying to get to the end of the game. And now suddenly he's looking like that dude. He's looking like the guy that we saw at Ulm in Germany when he played there. So, yeah, it's exciting. I don't know that I'm going to declare him suddenly a huge hit necessarily, or that he's going to become a star. But, given how he started out his career, if he becomes a viable, even just a mid-rotation guy, like a guy who can play 20-some minutes off the bench for a good team, that's a big hit. And the main thing to remember is that his defense puts a floor on his game, where if he can be at least decent offensively, he's got a spot in the league. So, yeah, I know we're running short on time, so I won't keep rambling about it.
So, you guys have already heard all my thoughts about Killian Hayes. I want to give Joe his time to give you guys his update on his belief-o-meter, but I'll go ahead and update and say it again how I'm feeling about Killian Hayes. Since he scored in double figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his last 9 games. I'm excluding the game that he got concussion in Orlando in like the first quarter. I'm not going to count that one against him. So in his 8 of his last 9 games, he scored in double figures. By far the best stretch of his career. However, if you even go before then, and I've said this on the podcast, I've been saying this for a minute, when he started coming off the bench, you saw a mentality flip. He instantly started trying to become more aggressive. It wasn't as successful, obviously, as it's been over the past month, but you saw an aggressiveness that wasn't there beforehand start to come there. He started to, try to get to the rim a little bit more. He started trying to look for a shot a little bit more. It still wasn't all the way there. It wasn't how you wanted, but you started to see it more and more and more and more. And I was telling you guys in the podcast, you're seeing development happen before your eyes. You're seeing him start to trust himself more. You're seeing him want to try score out there. You're starting to see a little bit of development happen right before us. It's not going to be quick. It's not going to happen overnight next game, but you're starting to see it happen. And now it's starting to pay off. It absolutely was starting to happen as soon as he started coming off the bench. And now we're seeing the benefits of it at the end of this season. Again, over his last 11 games. Joe went over his last 7 games. I'll go over his last 11 games. And this game on over the last 11 games on Basketball Reference, they have to include the Orlando game. I can't just take that one out. So take this one with somewhat even boost the numbers a little bit more. Over his last 11 games, we're looking at 11 points a game, 5 assists a game, 4 rebounds a game, 2 steals a game, 47% from the field, 31% from deep. If you told anybody that was his numbers for his entire second season, everyone would have been excited. Everyone would have been fine. Everyone would have said, okay, he's making progress. And this is something I've told you guys for a minute now. Everyone keeps saying, it's taking so long. Some guys take a lot longer than others to get going. It's taking Killian Hayes so long. No, it hasn't. It hasn't taken him so long. He just crossed over 82 games. He just finished his rookie season. If you want to go over the last 7 games like Joe did, I completely encourage that. You want to know why? Because if you go over the last 7 games, that would technically be his second year games. That would be games 83 to 89, which would be his second season. And I just think it's funny that now all of a sudden in those games, now he's looking better. It almost feels like that maybe guys should get more than 82 games. Now, that's obviously a little bit of a troll statement. I'm being serious, but I'm messing around. He obviously didn't look that good, but he needed time to develop. Some guys take a little bit longer. I didn't know 82 games was really that long, but either way, I'm happy to see how he's looking. I'm really happy about it. I'm really excited by his future. I've always been a big Killian Hayes guy, so I am kind of like making like a victory lap here whenever I can, because I don't know if I can take a victory lap in a year or so from now. So I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
Start hurting in a few days. And
I'm gonna take it while I can. But for real, on a serious note, for real, he's looked really good getting to the rim again. Like Joe said, he's trying things that he simply wasn't even attempting before. And the main thing I'm pointing out in these final 3 games, I want you guys all to watch this. Those of you guys who are kind of like on the fence with what I'm talking about, or even those of you guys who are really Killian Hayes fans, or even his haters, all of you, I want you guys just to watch his ball handling these last 3 games, because that's where you'll see like the confidence coming. All the other times, like throughout the season, even when he was like during the stretch when I say he was coming off the bench throwing a little bit more aggressiveness, trying to get to the rim, it was all just like straight line drives. Like it was simply grab the ball, and he just went straight to the rim. If it was there, he took it. If it wasn't, he's kicking it out. Watch how he's handling the ball and the way he's being creative with trying to get to the basket and create his own look over the past like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like this creativeness and his handle, this freely like cockiness to his game that he's showing was the kind of thing that you saw in his tape, like in France when he was playing over there, like how he tried things with his handle. And you're seeing that over these last few weeks. That's the big tale to me, is that he's out here trying to do behind the backs, yanking dudes around, trying to create his own shot. Like he wasn't doing that 2 months ago. It wasn't happening. So my belief-o-meter is very high. I'm very happy that I'm finally witnessing it. But I'm happy that Joe is
sliding headfirst into home plate.
I'm happy that Joe though is coming around a little bit with him, and the belief-o-meter is starting to go up a little bit. Obviously, Killian had to earn it, obviously, and it is a small stretch somewhat of his career, but his entire career is a small stretch, to be honest. So we'll see. It's good that this is heading into the second season looking like this. Joe, I'll give you the last word real quick, and then we'll wrap this up.
I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Oh, I didn't know if you had like a comeback or something. I didn't know if you wanted to like peace out with like a signature goodbye.
No, I don't have a comeback to that. I pretty much agree with it. He's looked good. Yeah, man. Like the things he's done with the ball in his hands, like the confidence, not just doing straight line. He looks like he's playing hoops. He doesn't look like he's like, okay, now I drive straight to the bat. He's not playing scared. He was playing scared before, and now he's not. And I guess the one thing to tack on is to remember, not only was he hurt a lot of last season, but like there was no preseason, no camp. He had and then you consider that he's coming from a foreign country, et cetera, et cetera. Like, if there has ever been a guy for whom you want to write off their rookie season as just there was so much extracurricular stuff that happened that could throw you off, Killian Hayes would be it, right? Not only the COVID season, he's super young, coming into a really bad, dysfunctional team. Like they had to deal with the whole Blake Griffin thing at the start of last season. Jeremy Grant was trying to prove something that he's not as much anymore. Well, I know he's not playing now, but you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of extracurricular stuff that was out of his control. And, you can say that he should have handled it better, but whatever. If there ever was a guy who would have the excuse of, you know what, I just needed a year to just get settled here, Killian Hayes would be that dude. So, yeah, and look, if nothing else, happy for him because Deuce caught a lot of flack from a lot of people, and a lot of it's not his fault. It's not his fault that a bunch of people started saying that he was the best guy in the draft when he clearly wasn't. So, yeah, really happy for him. And if he can keep that up and bring this into next season, it would really change the trajectory for the Pistons, for sure.
All right, we'll end it there. Sada, baby, I'm looking for you, man. Where you at? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for where Sada's been because he was talking a lot before, and he was basically threatening the kid. So I'm looking for where Sada's
standing up on his tippy toes trying to see over people. He still only sees their kneecaps down there.
All right, Joe. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you and your Substack and everything.
You can find me on Twitter at Joe_Truck. Find my Substack, just Joe Truck Substack. And all my stuff also goes on the Pistons subreddit. And yeah, come find me, boys. Let's fight. 3 o'clock, Garfield Park, South Side.
Come on, man. Appreciate you guys listening, man. Appreciate you, Joe, coming on for real. I told Joe to come on last second. He was all for it, so I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun recording this one. It's always a lot of fun recording with Joe. Thank you guys for making Lockdown Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. Make sure you guys are making Lockdown NBA your second listen of every single day. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Again, if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Lockdown Pistons. Hit that subscribe button on our way to 3,000 subscribers. And until the next podcast, I'll see you guys later. Thank you, Joe, for coming on. Thank you guys for listening. Peace out, everybody, and go Pistons.